Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
Los Angeles.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on an amazing March 31st. Is that right? It is the 4-year anniversary of the miracle on March 31st. Zlatan Ibrahimovic's worldwide LA Galaxy debut, one of the biggest days in MLS soccer history. We're going to talk a little bit about it. It's been 4 years. It feels like it was yesterday. We're going to talk about that. We will worship at the church of Zlatan, all right? Everybody come, join us. We're going to talk a little bit about that, get you through today's media call. Greg Vanney talked, Mark Delgado talked, get you ready for Portland. Pretty simple, a lot to get to, a lot of fun we're about to have. To help me do all that, he's back, always glad to have him. It's Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how's it going?
Greetings and blessings. Blessings to you on this holiest of holidays. Happy Zlatan Day. It's 3/31. We can finally get to record on the anniversary. So we've talked about it enough. Everyone has this etched into their memories, but it's a high holy day if you're an LA Galaxy fan. So what a great day to record the pod.
You said blessings. Is that Latif blessings flinging off into the distance somewhere with Zlatan a little flick? That was a different game, right? It was a different game, but
the boss, Josh.
It doesn't matter.
Latif blessings to you and to yours
yes.
on this beautiful 3/31.
Yes, may you all fly through the air as easily as Latif Blessing did on that wonderful day. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that it was 4 years ago. One, it feels like it was like 700 years ago. I'm going to read you, whenever we start talking about this little, I'm going to read you the roster from 2018. There's going to be names on there, and you're going to be like, no way. Like, how long ago was that? That feels like forever ago. So yeah, it was, it's crazy that it feels like it's so long ago. It's crazy that it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. Whenever we went, and I was tweeting out the 2-hour post first El Tráfico that Kevin and I did, and I went back and listened to it. And one, it's hysterical some of the conclusions that we come from Zlatan. We still called him and I think multiple times a rich man's Alan Gordon multiple times.
I cringed cringed at the time. So that was brutal, because I think that was back when I was doing rest in peace guys in shorts. But when I was doing that show, I was like, he's not going to be a sub. I don't care if he has one leg. He's not going to be a sub. Zlatan does not come here to be a sub, and especially after that performance.
Yeah. Little do we know that the entire LA Galaxy attack, the entire wins and losses would be hung on Zlatan's shoulders for 2 years.
He was it for 2 years, and that is one of the frustrating things. And I think I'm going to argue. I'm already going other side. Like, people will say, well, it's 4 years ago. Stop living in the past. We need to focus on the future. If you were there, it's like, that's the greatest game I've ever been to, best goals I've ever seen live. And so we're going to talk about it. And every year that pops up, just like every year an MLS Cup anniversary comes up, or every year, a World Cup memory pops up, you're going to talk about it. It's one of those things. So I'm just going to throw it out there. We can talk about it. It's fair. It's not Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. We can talk about Zlatan. And so the other thing is just what it meant, and going back and looking at, okay, what's going to happen, what's going to hang. And we had Zlatan, and he had these amazing moments, and the Galaxy, one playoff run, and though it was a short playoff run at that, and just we had Zlatan, one of the best in the world, and we didn't take advantage of it. We weren't dominant. We weren't, as good as we could have been. We hung our hat too much on Zlatan. That's the one thing looking back, like, man, we had him and he had some amazing moments, but we didn't have the supporting cast. And that's the thing, to your point, when you're saying, when you look at that roster, like, man, we really made a chicken salad out of chicken something else.
I would say that, but the 2018 roster was actually a good roster. I mean, it's not a horrible roster. You look at the talent that was on this. Okay, here's the 2018 roster. Chris Pontius off the start. Party boy Chris Pontius.
The party boy.
And by the way, scored in the El Tráfico, the second goal. Yeah, a huge goal that came about that. Baggio Husidic was in this. Had one of the assists, or the hockey assist that went forward, I believe actually on the game-winning goal. He passes it to Ashley Cole. That's the ball that comes over the top that Ashley Cole runs onto and then passes it to Zlatan, who scores the game winner. Baggio Husidic, Ari Lassiter, Ashley Cole. I will tell you, the biggest thing that I have gotten out of listening to everything, going back and looking at the rosters, is a reminder of how much I miss Ashley Cole. That remains to this day. If Ashley Cole wanted to come back and play today, yes, absolutely, 100%. I know you haven't been playing. I know you've been coaching. You've been doing stuff, but today you could come back.
Yeah, well, and if Zlatan wanted to come back and yell at Kevin Cabral to whip him into shape, I'd happily take that as well. Bully the number 9 off of him.
I really think that that's one of the things that this is going to do, which is going to sort of paint over a lot of the Zlatan problems. Whenever you just look at this one game and what this meant and how it was, you're going to not remember any of the other stuff, which happens, right? And I'm not, but I agree. This whitewashes over a lot of stuff that there was Zlatan problems. Justin Vomsteeg, Sebastian Lletget, Servando Carrasco, we'll talk about him in a second, Emre Clementa, Ola Kamara was on this team. Remember Ola Kamara and Zlatan coexisted for a season?
I'm pretty sure you made those last 2 names up.
Servando Carrasco.
The Emre Clementa era was not one to be remembered. Yeah.
Hugo Ariano, Giovanni Dos Santos, Jonathan Dos Santos, Roman Alessandrini, 3 designated players right there. Hey, Eric,
neither of which played.
Eric, how many DPs played in that first El Tráfico? That would be zero of those. And so you had that. Zlatan is there. Bradford Jameson, Efrain Alvarez, Dave Romney, Perry Kitchen, Kevin Kitchen, also known as Kevin Kitchen. Especially at this time, it was definitely Kevin Kitchen. Brian Silvestri, Tomas Hilliard Arce, right?
TJ.
Your boy Joao Pedro. This was really. I mean, when you think about the Eric,
Zlatan was the beginning of the end for the Joao Pedro era. Yeah.
Michael Ciani was on this team. David Bingham was on this team. Daniel Steres, Rolf Felcher, Shannon Williams, Jurgen Shelvik, and Emmanuel Boateng. That's not a horrible roster. There's some serviceable parts there, especially whenever you go Ola Kamara, I'm going to say it, Giovanni Dos Santos, Jonathan Dos Santos, Roman Alessandrini, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Chris Pontius, Baggio Husidic, Ashley Cole.
That's an MLS, playoff caliber lineup, yeah.
How did the 2018 team not make playoffs? How is that possible? That team was better than the 2019 team.
I agree. Well, Pavone makes a huge swing. That could be the difference maker. But yeah, there's no reason why this team. Yeah, it makes you angry. Makes you angry. They should have done better.
Alejandro in the chat room says Zlatan was a crutch, but he was a hell of a crutch. Yes, absolutely.
If you're gonna have a crutch, yeah, that's the crutch. Carry the golden one with diamonds on it. If you're gonna have a crutch.
I mean, there are some good names in this. For an MLS roster, this shouldn't have been as bad as it was. And, I'm also going to say that there are some really bad names on this. There absolutely are. And you can say it. But guess what? Most of those guys didn't play, right? You want to talk about Emre Clementa? He didn't play. You want to talk about Justin Vomsteeg? He didn't play. You want to talk about Ari Lassiter? He played on occasion. There's not much there for these guys. Efrain Alvarez got some minutes, but not very many. Actually, probably about as many as he's getting this season. Ooh, hot take. Joao Pedro stopped. Was that the year that he sort of stopped playing?
They loaned him down to G2. That was the beginning of the end. Yeah, international slots and whatnot. See ya. And then he had a few bad games on the same field as Zlatan, and I think he got the evil eye, and that was it. He got on Siggy's bad side, got on Zlatan's bad side. And if you don't like the coach and you don't like the star player, or they don't like you, then you're pretty much done.
You're in trouble. Is what you're saying? That's a good take. The thing I always come back to this is that if you remember this game, first of all, Kevin and I were talking about it on that podcast 4 years ago. We were saying there are going to be 50,000 people who said they were at this game, right?
Yeah,
now, I was actually at this game. You were actually at this game. We know that. But if you remember that whole day was nuts.
It was.
the electricity in that stadium was something that I have not felt. Been to all the MLS Cup games, have not felt it. This felt crazy from the start.
Yeah, and it was the lead up to it because the Noisy Neighbors had the 2-year lead up. So like this was a building tension. So it's not like, okay, they got awarded a franchise and a month later they had their first game. This is 2 years in the making. The anti-Galaxy crowd making their way, making noise and kind of being that annoying little brother. So by the time this was like the slow burn, and the heat just got turned up a little by little, and then on that day it was just combustible. The atmosphere was, you're right, unlike any other game that I've been to. It just, everyone was ready. Like my body is ready. We are ready to let this happen. And it did not start great. And we were feeling pretty bad. And we said, well, the 3 DPs are out. Look at the players that are out there. This is not the best squad. It is what it is, and then the magic happened. It's like, oh my God, did this really happen? And fortunately, I have photographic evidence that I was there. Unfortunately for the people who look at that photo, but I was there. I have proof I was there.
5th minute, Vela scores. That was that left-footed curler that goes into the back of the net to the left side, beat David Bingham to that backside. Vela in the 26th made David Bingham dance around like a fish on the floor. 2-0. You go into halftime down 2-0, and it didn't look good. Galaxy getting just pounded, beaten by speed over and over again. And that's what I sort of said after that game, listening back to that podcast a little bit, is they counterattacking goals, speed. Urania was causing so many problems for the Galaxy. Blessing in the overlaps too, and just little things like that were causing all sorts of problem. And then you go into the start of the second half and think, okay, if you get the first goal, you'll be fine. The own goal to Daniel Steres, 3-0, right? So it's 3-0 in the 61st minute. 3-0 in the 61st minute. There are only 30 minutes left in this game. There's plenty of time. How could you possibly lose a 3-0 lead? Somebody reminded me today that no matter what anybody says about this game, reminder, LAFC had a 3-goal lead with 30 minutes left in the game, and they blew it. Not only did they blow it, but it was a masterful meltdown. And it all started in the 61st minute when their fans started olaying in the 61st minute. That was
the moment. Mm-hmm.
I think the Riot Squad cast guys were saying 3-0. I think the title of their episode that day was 3-0, the most dangerous score in soccer. Right? We always joke about 2-0. Right?
They say it for a reason.
Yep. That's great. And so 3-0. It's there. 61st minute. Ole. The ball gets to Benny Feilhaber, and Servando Carrasco, the unheralded hero in this game, turns over Benny Feilhaber right in the middle of this field, passes the ball off to Sebastian Lletget, who scores. It's now 3-1. Does it mean anything? So I was listening to it, and apparently Larry Morgan and I were sitting next to each other for this game. So Larry and I were up in the press box. Kevin was on the other side of the press box, so we didn't see. So it's 3-1, and apparently I turned to Larry and I said, there might be something there. There might be something. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but that was something. Something just happened there.
Yeah, at the time I thought this is a consolation goal, especially because it was Sebastian Lletget coming back, first goal after his injury. So I was like, okay, we got some positives to build on, but I didn't think it was going to go further.
3-1 in the 61st minute. 71st minute, Zlatan Ibrahimovic replaces Sebastian Lletget. All right, so Lletget comes off the field after scoring the goal, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic comes in. That happens in the 71st minute. Then it's Emmanuel Boateng on the left-hand side, a guy who got completely played out of his shoes in the first half. Emmanuel Boateng finds Chris Pontius. Pontius comes over the right shoulder of the LAFC defender, surprises him like he didn't even know he was there. Straight header into the corner of the net. There it is, 3-2. So 73rd minute now, it is 3-2. So things are starting to happen, right?
And this is when I thought, because Zlatan was on the field, I think he created the space. The Boateng was getting smothered, but now he was drawing attention away, and that allowed Boateng to make the run. And this is when I started to believe. This is when I said, we're going to tie this game. We got the second one. Now they're on the ropes. They're mentally, frazzled. We're gonna tie this game. But I still didn't think I was going to see what happens next.
77th minute, Tyler Miller takes I think it was a foul that was in his end. So it was near it was on the right-hand side of the box. And it's a foul. It's a restart for him. So he sends everybody forward. He clears it. Ball goes to Dan Steres, who catches it on it. Straight header by Dan Steres. Right back in the general direction of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but certainly not aimed anywhere. Another guy unheralded in this play.
I was going to say, you better say his name.
Ola Kamara.
Yep.
Ola Kamara jumps up, and I forget who he was next to on LAFC, but LAFC fans still calling for a foul on that,
Still a
which was
foul,
like,
yeah.
it's like, no.
It was the uncredited assist, because it was a crucial part of the play. But even though they technically didn't touch the ball,
neither of them touched the ball. They both went up for it 50-50. Ola Kamara came out of it a little better than his counterpart there on the LAFC team. The ball bounces up to Zlatan. Now, Zlatan, who had come on the field in the 71st minute, 2 minutes before that, had taken a couple touches in that game. And I likened him to a baby giraffe trying to run out there. He was not coordinated. It didn't look good. And you were like, ooh, ouch. I mean, this guy's been off for a while. You could sort of tell, okay, yep, something's happening here. The whole deal. So apparently he also felt that. He felt that he wasn't quite ready. And so he knew that whenever he got the ball, he might take a shot just because he couldn't run. Loose, he was like, I can't run that far. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to pass. And obviously he hits it with his right foot. The ball goes, starts outside the inside post. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so he gets across that ball. So it has this looping, swooping curl up and over Tyler Miller, who was RIP Tyler Miller, who was like, out of position a little bit, not horribly. I mean, nobody's expecting anybody to shoot from there.
It was out enough. Yeah.
Yep. And that ball nestles straight in the center of the goal. So it hooked a good, 12 yards or something like that. Yeah. It's a ridiculous shot. It's still ridiculous. And I watched it like 17 times today.
It's still unbelievable. And at the moment, that was when, you saw the crowd, and when you see the reaction, just to have the buildup that Zlatan had, and with the pedigree that he had, flying in Thursday night. I think we did a Thursday night show. We were tracking the plane.
We were.
He trained Friday. Well, he had one training session. I think he even said he was falling asleep during the training session because of his jet lag. And then the hype. Okay, this is the savior. This is, the God, and he's going to come and make move mountains. And he delivers. He delivers. That's the craziest thing. It's like, how many times has the hype actually delivered? That's and in that fashion, it was incredible.
It was nuts. Still one of the craziest things I've ever. And I've never heard the press box make the noises it made. I've never heard the stadium make the noises that it made.
And that's where you get into that argument where, okay, have goals technically. The other El Tráfico, I think the year later, where he rainbows it over a defender and then hits it on the volley. Technically, that's a more skillful goal and a better goal. Right. But I think for the moment, there's no bigger goal than that volley.
It is not able. You are not able to properly put what happened into perspective. And we're 4 years later. You're still not able to properly. It was heard, and it's the goal heard around the world, right? I mean, it really is, and you can say that it was. And I said it. It's the biggest goal in Major League Soccer history. That nothing else even 100%. Comes close to what it did, and it put the Galaxy back on a stage and on a pedestal that rightfully they've earned over the years, right? And they already have the worldwide reach, but there's everybody was watching this goal around the world.
Everyone was waiting around the world because of his name. Everyone was watching this game. All eyes were on this game. And so, that's one of Zlatan's things that he said after that game. LAFC needs to be thankful because now people know who they are too.
I've seen the transfer rumors. Rarely do people know who they are. So you get that. So 77th minute, Zlatan hits that ridiculous ball. There's a part in here that a lot of people forget too, and it certainly is cut out of a lot of the highlights, which is Urania hitting the post.
Yeah.
Not too long after that, well, I want to say.
Well, I think what happened is then they said, we can't sit back in the shell. Let's start attacking again. And you saw what was happening in the first half. Because when Zlatan scored, my brain again, we're going to win this thing. Yeah. And then as the game went on, it's like, I'm happy with the tie. I'm okay with this. Let's just hold on. Let's survive.
So you get that. Then it comes Baggio Husidic puts the ball over the top to Ashley Cole. Now, there is a part in this, and I highlighted this in the podcast. I have tweeted out the link to that podcast from 2018. It's 2 hours of reminiscing fun if you want to do it.
We're spending 20 minutes now for something that happened 4 years ago, but go listen to 2 more hours. What's that going to hurt you?
Hey, one of our good soccer listeners, Pam, she says that every year on this day she listens to the podcast that came out after it just to nice. feel that.
I just want to feel something.
Yes.
I've been there, Pam. I've been there.
So Baggio Husidic puts it over, but the reason that Ashley Cole was in the position to be where he was is because Siggy Schmidt did something that every coach should do, brought himself in to Dave Romney. They put Dave Romney in the back and they pushed Ashley Cole. They basically put Dave Romney at left back and they put Ashley Cole up into the midfield so that way he would have something. Not only did it give Ashley Cole another defender so that way the Galaxy could push off anything, but it allowed Ashley to get forward. he gets forward on this. Remember, Zlatan's offside when the ball is first played to him, and he stops and runs away from it, knowing he was offside, and he goes, Ashley's going to get there, no problems. He comes back around. Ashley Cole's like, well, this is going to be easy because I'll just dink this over to Zlatan, and he
Find
does.
the 6'5" Swede, yeah.
Yeah, tall white guy in the middle there. That's what you're looking for. And you know, he hit it. And he bodied off, I think, 2 LAFC defenders. Ball goes up and over.
And the goalkeeper, yeah.
Yeah, Tyler Miller again. I mean, you know. Do you think Tyler Miller turns his phone off on 331?
He has to. Yeah,
I would, because I see everybody tagging him in this. Hey, Tyler Miller, remember this?
Yeah, I imagine he still has nightmares. He has to. It's in my brain, and I wasn't on the field. So I would imagine that it gives him nightmares. But then, you know, another set of controversy, the Ola Kamara quote-unquote foul, and then this offside. You know, was it offside? Was it not offside?
Oh.
And it was close. But I think if I like a tinfoil hat theory, but if Don Garber had access to the fourth official, you tie him up, you duct tape him. No, you're not calling this back. Do not change that. Even if, you know, on the side that benefits, I'm not going to say we cheated or something went unfair. But if there's a scenario where you're gonna, you know, hand tie the referee and say, don't you dare call this back, this is the moment that you do that. You're not going to kill that moment.
No, you don't kill that moment. And we, in that 2-hour extravaganza there, go through some evidence that says that he was probably onside or he was probably offside, and it was probably really close. One of the angles showed that he was 7.5 inches offside. One of the angles shows he's 3.5 inches onside. There's no perfect angle. Nobody can get to there, so it is what it is. Although I'm pretty sure I heard Stu Holden recently try to bring up the fact that Zlatan was offside on the goal because Stu likes to stir up controversy.
Come on, Stu, you know better.
So anyway, that was that's the game. I mean, again, it was surreal. It still is surreal. I didn't remember this, but Kevin said this in the podcast. He talked to his editor that day, and the sports editor, and the sports editor was like, after the game, calls up Kevin and says, listen, I know the Final Four is going on right now, right? Same time as it is now, right? So I know the Final Four is going on right now, but we're changing the entire front page of the sports section. We're changing it all. So he basically said, screw the Final Four. This is the story that's going to be around the world, and we're going to make it. And so they rewrote the entire sports section and reworked everything in order to get this. And that doesn't happen if that game isn't played at like noon on a Saturday.
It was an early game.
Yeah, and so all of this goes into stuff. It's just crazy stuff. Absolutely the most ridiculous game I've ever seen in person. I doubt it will ever be topped. I don't expect it to.
That's why you say that 50,000 people are going to say they were there, is because you have to say you were there, because it was just one of those moments where, you know, to be in it. I remember just looking back, like I called my brother because he was there at the game with me. I called him on the way home when I was driving home, because we drove separately, and I said, did that really happen? Did I fever dream this? Like, someone slipped me something in my drink? Like, did this really happen? Because it was unbelievable.
I remember getting text messages for the rest of that day from people who don't watch soccer. Like, I have buddies who aren't soccer people at all, and they're like, holy geez, man, what a game. I'm like, what? Who's watching? Why are you watching this game?
And to that point, I oversold Zlatan to people. I was like, you don't understand. This guy's gonna come, and he's gonna change your life. He's gonna make you, you know, a soccer believer. Like I said that this guy was gonna be the next coming, and I felt so good. I was so like, he did it. He proved me right.
you oversold and he over-delivered for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's
great.
hard to do sometimes. It's crazy. Again, the 2018 team scratches my head though. After watching all this again and going back and listening to some things and just seeing how that whole season played out. You know, the 3-2 loss to Houston at home. After Ola Kamara scored 2 goals in the first half, 2-0,
yeah.
2-0, 2 minutes apart.
We LAFC'd it.
2-0, 25th and 27th minute. Ola Kamara scores 2 goals, and everybody's like, "Galaxy are going to playoffs. Galaxy are going to play." There you go. This is like not only is Houston a problem on the last day, but just the last day in general seems to be. It's like the Galaxy's TNT, right?
Yeah, we're learning this. We've been hurt before, and it doesn't stop us from getting hurt again. Do we want to end this?
Yeah.
With hitting the super chat.
Yeah,
Herb,
go ahead.
What a great way to end it. See, He says, can't make the live show. Hope the family is good. Hammer, welcome back. Have a great show. The original Sugar Daddy.
Herb
so
Memorial.
again, he senses the tension that there's some other big donors in there. But Herb, you never forget your first. So again, appreciate the original Sugar Daddy chiming in, hopping on the show.
I'm glad Herb decided to give a little today, because I think we're going to have a chance for our chat friends right now as we move on to this other stuff to influence how we close out the show today. And so if you would like to have a dramatic game preview, which we haven't done in a very long time, Eric.
I think I forgot how.
I don't even know
which. Zlatan, I feel like I'm going to be like a giraffe legs, baby giraffe.
Ooh,
and I have to get used to it again.
It's okay. I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Do I know how to hit the button? Yes. Okay, good. Okay. No, not yet. We're not yet. But if you would like Eric perhaps to do a dramatic game preview, then perhaps hit that super chat button. $1 is good. That's $1. $1 is fine. I love $1.
I've done it for less.
Haven't we all, Eric? Haven't we all? So anyway, Herb, thank you for that. Appreciate it. But if you guys want a dramatic game preview at the end of this show, then perhaps you can hit up the super chat a little bit and help us out there. By the way, am in the midst of a design frenzy on some scarves, thinking about doing another scarf, sort of have an idea going out there. So I'm working on it. So just keep that in mind too. All right. Good.
And
glad everybody had that.
I've seen the renderings.
Yeah.
Looks good. I like it.
Are you
I
happy?
Like where we're going. We got matching shirts. We'll have matching scarves in a little bit.
We want to talk about the internationals. We want to talk about the media call. And one of the things that Greg Vanney said at the very end of his media availability today was he said he wanted to congratulate, he had some guys, the Canadians. He said that he thought that they played really well, and there's some Canadians on the team. Raheem is one of those guys. And so he wanted to congratulate him. He wanted to congratulate, obviously, Mexico for being in there as well. And you have some obviously, with Julian Araujo on there and Efrain Alvarez. He wanted to congratulate those guys. And then also for the United States. And he was pretty happy about all that. So that's what's going on. I asked him during this about the players and whether or not they would be coming back and sort of how that went. And he said everybody should be back by tomorrow. So we're recording on Thursday. On Friday, everybody should be back. He says he hasn't heard of any injuries from anybody. He doesn't believe that anybody is sort of tapped out on minutes. And so all of those guys who were out on international duty, and that's Araujo with Mexico, who didn't get any minutes. Eric Zavaleta played for El Salvador a couple times. I don't know if he played in the third game or not. I did not check, but actually, I know I think he was started and he played in that game. So Zavaleta was there. Edwards was on the Canadian extended roster. Leerdam was with Suriname, and he apparently was back yesterday and fully training with the Galaxy today. Jalen Neal should be back, and I think Johnny Perez is another one. So everybody should be back at least by the very latest tomorrow on Friday. And Greg says he doesn't expect that he would hold anybody back. He did talk about limited numbers though for training and some of those things. Okay, so
yeah, I don't imagine it impacting the lineup at all because Araujo didn't get the minutes, but he was with the team training, getting that experience. I imagine he's going to be hungry to get back on a starting lineup and to play again. Zavaleta got a lot of minutes he played in all three qualifiers, and so he hasn't been in a starting role for the Galaxy, so I don't think it's going to impact. If he is going to play, it would be off the bench, and so he's in form, he's been playing, so he'll be ready to go. Same thing with Leerdam, and then Edwards not getting the minutes, he'll be ready to go as well. So I don't think it's going to have any impact on the lineup if Vanney decides to go with the same 11 or 10 out of the 11. I think it's not going to really impact us.
Well, that was one of the updates we were waiting. The other update we were waiting on was Douglas Costa. So I'll let Greg Vanney tell you about Douglas Costa because it's probably better than if I do it. So here's Greg Vanney talking about Douglas Costa and whether or not he's ready to go.
So as it relates to Douglas, he's one of those guys that we've been working to get back to full health. He was involved in some of the session today, so we'll keep progressing him here over the next couple of days. I'll put him unquestionable for this weekend. We'll see where he gets and how he responds over the next couple of days. But worst case scenario, we're very optimistic that he'll be back into training early next week. At the worst training, I mean like full out training at the worst case scenario and ready for the next one. But there's still a little bit of a glimmer of hope that he might be available for something this weekend. We'll see.
All right, so basically Douglas Costa ain't playing.
He's not playing. That's what I heard as well.
There's also this part of me, though, and I want to say this. There's this part of me that says Greg Vanney did leave the door open for him to play some role. And listen, you do that for two reasons. One, you think there's actual realistic possibility that maybe he would, and that maybe you would on turf and a hamstring possibly put him in like the last 10, 15 minutes for something. I don't know. That doesn't feel right. So that's something. And the other part of that is you're saying that some way Portland doesn't go, oh, he's absolutely not playing. Yeah. And you make him waste a little bit of time thinking about what would happen if Douglas Costa does play, right?
Yeah, never say never, just in case. But if you were betting on this, let's say you were in a pool, would you say
I'm in a pool like with floaties on? Like,
was he injured after 3 games? Was he injured after 4 games? Or he didn't make 5 games? Like if you'd say Douglas Costa was not going to play more than 4 games before injuring himself.
I mean,
would you say the 4th game, or would you count it the 3rd game? I don't know.
The over-under was probably 5.
I'm not saying that I have to pay anybody out. I'm just saying hypothetically,
yeah.
What game would you count that? Would you say after 3 games or after 4 games?
Yeah. I would say 4 games was probably
4 games.
about.
Okay.
Yeah,
He played 4 games and got hurt. Okay.
Yeah. That's not a surprise.
That's official for the record. Stamp it. Pay your bets.
One.
Not you, but
no. Yeah.
One would.
Someone might have to pay, or you. Yes, exactly. No, I mean, here's the thing: is nobody should be surprised by Douglas Costa getting hurt. We knew this. This was one of the biggest knocks on him. Knocks, no pun intended, but it's the biggest knocks on him is that he couldn't stay healthy. And so we're seeing that at least initially, and this doesn't seem like it's horrible. All right, and listen. There's other guys who have been injured too. Derek Williams has been injured for this whole time too. We're expecting that he will be available as well. It's not always just him, but he does have a history of it. We know he has a history of it. We knew this was one of the biggest risks that they would get out of him. So, I mean, I don't know what the Galaxy want from him. Are they happy with him playing 20 games? Because it feels like he's a 20 to 25 gamer. But that's your second designated player, your second highest paid player on the team. And remember how excited I was that I was sort of showing the DP numbers and how high a percentage of minutes they like 80-something percent.
Far.
Yeah. Well, when you don't play, that percentage drops pretty fast.
And I'm one who was high on Costa also, and thinking that he and you saw it in those games that he has the talent. It's just this is going to be the issue. Is he going to be able to stay healthy and play all those games? And that's just the unfortunate part. I think going away on turf. It's a recipe not to play. And so if you're going to rest him, fine, I'm okay with that. But going back to what we said about decision day being like, a big red flag for the LA Galaxy, these injury reports are also a big red flag. Yeah, okay, he'll be back next week. We've heard that before. And, 3 weeks later, a month later, he's still rehabbing. He's still working on it. So is it really a week away, or is this one of those things where we're saying it's a week away, but it's really 3 to 4 weeks? And so that's the scary thing from the outside looking in is, are we getting the legit report, or are we getting something that's just going to patch us over because we're trying to do the gamesmanship with our opponent to make them think that Douglas is going to be on the field?
Yeah,
so we'll find out next week. Really,
he's not, and you're not going to play him on turf. You're not going to do that. You're not going to risk him. You're not going to do any of that stuff. You're going to let him get better. You're going to let him heal over the break that he had. I mean, he got injured probably at the perfect time.
Yeah,
when you look at it, he could be out 2-3 weeks, and really he only misses 1 game, right? So
yeah.
I guess that's a positive, but you can see the Galaxy are going to lack if he's not playing. I mean, the same with Kevin Cabral, by the way. If Kevin Cabral can't start scoring goals, the Galaxy are not going to be successful, and they're starting to have a really potent offense that can't finish chances. So it's, again, we'll look at these things and go, but the Galaxy, in my mind, where the Galaxy are after 4 games is they are that same team, Eric, that was finishing out last season, right? They're in that sort of form. Remember last season, towards the end, creating chances, doing all this stuff, but they were underperforming their XG, and right now they're underperforming their XG, which is different than last year at the beginning of the season where they were overperforming their XG, right?
It's they at the beginning of the season they played games that they shouldn't have won and got results, and at the end of the season they played games that they should have won and didn't get the results. Yeah,
and so this is where we get now. There's something to, and I think it's important to point out. There's people to blame for a Costa injury problem, which is you knew this was going to be a problem. Everybody knew this was going to be a problem. And this was still the guy that you arrived on. So one, Jovan Karofsky out there scouting somebody like Douglas Costa and saying, this is the guy that I think we might want to do. And according to how it's supposed to work, as we've been informed how this process works, is Greg Vanney gets sort of the last say on it, which is, oh, okay, you think you can get Douglas Costa? Well, yeah, I want Douglas Costa on the team, the whole deal. So there had to have been a discussion at one point, which was, he's injured all the time. So are we okay with taking that risk? Because if you didn't have that discussion, then fire everybody and make them pack up, make them move.
Well, and also taking into account that Chicharito is not going to play 34 games. Also, that there's going to be a point where he's maybe going to need some rest, or hopefully he's able to take care of himself and it's not forced off to injury. But understanding that he's probably not going to be all 34 games 90 minutes either. And so now that's 2 designated player spots that you're figuring in that there's going to be some absences there.
Over under on the number of games the LA Galaxy play before all 3 designated players miss a game. Is it 15? Is it 20?
See,
Kevin
thing,
Cabral
I don't think Cabral is not injury prone. Knock on wood.
Yeah,
the last thing you
they're
want
gonna
to say.
they're going to sit him, but they're going to sit him.
Yeah, well, I think you can't sit him if Costa and Chicharito are out. So that's, you kind of force the hand in that regard. So I'm going to go whatever the under is. I go under.
Okay, under. So you would say that it's less than that before. I mean, I think we're approaching sometime in the next 2 months. You're going to get a game without any three of the designated players being available. You watch. Something's going to happen. Because we know that Chicharito has problems. We know that Douglas Costa has problems. So it's really about Kevin Cabral whenever he picks up some sort of knock or injury or something like that where they're not going to play. And so now you have big problems. Chicharito's contract technically up at the end of this year. So you can move away from that if you feel that that's a big enough problem. But yeah, anyway, so that's sort of where we sit on all of that stuff. I just think that there can't be, listen, there's no general manager, right? There's nobody who's actually the GM, which is really smart because that means that you can't really fire a GM when there isn't one, right? So, in saying that, there's some accountability in all these decisions. I think it's important to remember that this is what anybody with a right mind was saying. We always said Douglas Costa would be one of the most talented players on the field when he was on the field, but we knew that there were injury concerns. We knew that he was out of shape whenever he went to Brazil. We know that he hasn't regained that from a long time either. So, that's where we sit. All right, good. Close on Costa. Okay.
Close on Costa, and then Aaron did drop a $4.99 in the super chat saying, "Don't slap Josh on stage." So
yeah,
that's part of why I moved. It's proximity. So
that's right. That's the same reason Kevin and I can't be in the same, because everybody wants to slap him. That's why he's not allowed to walk out around people.
He can't keep your wife's name out of his mouth.
Yeah, that's it. That's it exactly. Nice.
I messed that one up.
Way to struggle through that one.
I was gonna say I'm so over that. I was like, okay, we got a good week and a half of jokes, and then an hour later after that night, I was like, you know what, I'm done. We're good. The internet moves too fast.
Let's see. I wanted to get to Greg Vanney. I asked him what he thought went well over the first 4 games, what they needed to work on, and this was his response.
I really thought we were successful in trying to implement what is our style of play, how we want games to look. We controlled the possession in the vast majority of the games, but not just possession for the sake of having possession. I thought we were pretty dynamic and good in terms of chance creation. There's games where the way we play and when we have good possession, we force the opposition sometimes into mid or lower blocks where there's not a ton of space in front of the goal. So not all of our chances were clear cut, but we certainly had a lot of decent looks or opportunities to be dangerous. I think we were in control of a lot of the matches. We failed execution in one game on the set piece side of things, and then we failed in really one big transition moment. It wasn't even a transition moment. It was a goal kick in which we started to press a little bit before we were organized, and then it became kind of one aggressive mistake after the other that led to a goal. But outside of that, I thought we really controlled the games, and we put ourselves in position where in the majority of the games, if we have 28 chances and the opposition has 2, you got to like your chances in games like that. And now it's about execution in the final action. It's about not having situations where we compound the first mistake with multiple mistakes, because I feel like that's really what got us in the last game. So somewhere we've got to break that chain and make a good solid decision that can protect us. But those are things that hopefully as we continue to get sharper and guys continue to work out sort of our timing and our kinks that we're going to execute better and better along this. But I feel like we've been definitely the team that has had the best opportunity to win each of these games. And so that's a good sign for us.
All right, Greg Vanney. Again, I don't disagree with his evaluation. Do you have anything that you think?
One, I think it's very Italian of him, to have more chances and to walk away losing. So just want to get that shot in there. That's exactly why, Portugal's in the World Cup and Italy is not. Is one team was able to finish their chances and the other was not able to finish their chances. So it's right there. Had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
So glad Portugal's back in. But it's the same symptom. Over the course of a season, and just like to make that comparison with Italy and North Macedonia, if they played 34 games. Italy's going to win the majority of those games over the course of a season if you played that all out. And so I think that's why Vanney's walking away with a positive, that over the course of the season, if you're consistently outshooting your opponent, eventually the numbers are going to work out. It's going to work in your favor. The goals are going to start to go in, you would think, eventually. So that I understand that he is coming from a positive, but you also, he's of course going to take the positive spin, but he also had 2 games that were winnable games, and you walked away with 0 points.
Zero.
Not a draw.
No.
You walked away with nothing.
Yes.
And so I think that's where you need to, make cause for a little bit of concern that we can't, if we need to grind something out, get a result, get something out of it, even if we know we deserve to get 3 points, well, let's at least settle for one, or a lapse caused us to, let a late goal and they tied it at the end, but we at least walk away with something. But to walk away with nothing in games where you feel like you should walk away with 3 points, that's a cause for concern. Again, over the course of a season, still very early. We'll see if this averages out, it works itself out. But, just something, okay, the radar's up, tingling a little bit. We had games that we could have won and we blew it. Is this a problem, or is this just bad breaks?
We talked about losing back-to-back games. They won back-to-back games to start, lost back-to-back games. Now they enter into a time against Portland, against LAFC, a difficult April coming up. Certainly something to sort of keep an eye on as we move forward. The other thing I wanted to get to from this was Greg Vanney was asked about Dejan Joveljic and whether or not he was going to get more playing time. Plus, is there does he see a scenario where Dejan and Chicharito would start together and basically give yourself two forwards up top? Here's Greg's answer. It's long because it's Greg Vanney. But I think he tries to explain his point of view. We'll talk about it after we're done. So here's Greg answering that question.
I do. I think those scenarios they can happen. I think it depends a little bit of what the opposition is doing. So, look, to get in my head a little bit, I think when you play two strikers, sometimes you concede a little bit in your ability to possess and maybe control games and create with two strikers, but you might be a little more dangerous in and around the goal. That might be the case. For me at times, I feel like, again, I think we're controlling games. We're getting to good chances. It's when is the right time to go to two strikers? When is it the right time for us to stay in a shape that has been similar to what we've been doing lately? I think also it's important that the two of those guys, as we continue to work through windows like this, that they get used to playing together and they don't do the same things, but they actually complement each other in those scenarios. And so when you have two strikers who are really goal-oriented and they're really thinking about scoring goals, and sometimes you see that they end up making the same runs or doing things that are very similar instead of kind of playing off of each other. But that just takes, again, more and more repetition, them getting used to each other and adapting their mindset when they're on the field together. So, but Dejan's going to play a big role in this. It's just been, look, we've played 4 games. Each of those games has been 1 week from the other. So it hasn't been so easy for some of our guys who will get a lot of minutes as the season progresses, but just haven't gotten as many as I know they would like and as we would like them to get just in the short part of the season so far.
All right, so the argument for Vanney is that, one, I think he's 100% correct on the Dejan and Chicharito make the same runs. They do, and I've seen it, and they're in the same spot, and whenever they played them, that's been my biggest complaint about playing them. So one of the ways that you can get away from that, by the way, is by playing them more together, so that way they figure out where they're supposed to be and not be. He talks about that, but in game minutes, it matters in game. So he does have to give them more time together in order to do that. I also think that Dejan is absolutely 100% ready to come in whenever Chicharito eventually does get injured, right? I mean, we know that. He's a 1-for-1 replacement. Yeah. That's why he's there. I don't know. I don't know that I love the whenever you have two strikers, you can seat a little bit somewhere else.
That's exactly where I was going to push back and kind of disagree with Greg. There I go, disagreeing with the manager, just a dude. But anyway, I think where he says, you concede possession by having two strikers up there, I think one of the issues that I've seen on the field is Chicharito, when he's on the field and he's not getting the service and not getting the help, he drops back very deep and he helps with possession and he helps kind of spark those runs and get things going on the counterattack. So if he kind of drops deep in that role, then that leaves no one up front, to finish and to have that killer instinct. He now needs to, exert his energy, go twice as much. So he's back in position once he drops deep and dishes it off to Vasquez or puts it out to the wing to have one of the wing backs kind of push forward. Then he needs to exert himself extra to get in the box and then put himself in position. If you have Joveljic out there, he drops deep, he helps kind of spark that run. And now you have Joveljic up there waiting with the killer instinct, ready to put it away. So I think we've seen Chicharito help with possession, so I don't think you're conceding possession by having two forwards out there. And to your point, when you have them out at the same time, then they're going to learn, and then maybe, Dejan drops back and helps out, although I think Chicharito is better at dropping back and helping out. But that's the one thing I'll push back. I don't think you lose possession, especially with Chicharito, what he's shown during his time on the field. He comes back to possess anyway. So now, instead of being naked up top, without a striker or with, a Kevin Cabral who seems to have the yips and isn't putting him away. You now have Dejan, who I think, has shown that he has that killer instinct to put him away. I want to see more of him on the field. I don't think we've seen nearly enough of him this season, but maybe that time is coming.
Yeah, and I think I agree, and I think that's a criticism certainly of Vanney, and when you're looking at what he's trying to do, it feels a little bit. The reason he's saying you concede possession a little bit is because then you don't have as many matchups in the midfield, right? That's what he's saying. But your point is that Chicharito drops into the midfield anyway, so you'll still have that possession. And he's going to do it. And he's really successful whenever he does that, by the way. A lot of people scream at him. They're like, no, stay forward. I'm like, dude, every time he comes back and starts a play, something happens. So let him come back. And
I'm guilty of that because I look at him and I'm like, he's not like technically skilled on the ball. He's not a techer king. Like he's not gonna. But every time he goes back, he wins possession. He fights for it, and he makes something happen. He's not going to get you one-on-one on the dribble, which actually credit to Cabral. Cabral is much better at that.
He is.
But he makes stuff happen. Chicharito makes stuff happen when he drops back.
He absolutely does, and so I don't mind that, and by the way, don't take that away from him either. That's the Galaxy don't have a 10. Let Chicharito ghost into the 10 spot on occasion.
He's a 9.5.
He's a 9.5. Well, he's about that tall. He's not quite a tall guy. He's sort of he's tall. I stood next to him.
Chicharito's good size. He's not a small man. He's not a short king.
He's not that big, Eric. He's not that big.
See,
I'm
that's
pretty
what
sure.
I get when I'm not in the room. I don't feel that.
I stood next to him and I was like a little bigger than I remember, but still not like I'm sitting there going, "Oh man, that's one big dude." No, he's not a big dude.
His aura is 6'6".
Absolutely. I mean, his aura is 7'2". Yeah, absolutely. He can slap you across the face with his aura from 20 feet away.
There it is.
Yeah, good. So anyway, so that was sort of one of the things. We'll hear from Greg Vanney here in a little bit whenever we go to preview sort of what is going on with the Portland game. So we'll get to that here in just a couple minutes. Again, if you want a dramatic game preview, now would be the time for Super Chat. I'm just saying. Maybe I know how to hit the button, maybe I don't. You have to persuade me a little bit. One of the things I wanted to get to, though, was I was looking at preparing for this Portland game. So one of the things I was doing was I went to 538. Now, we're not going to get to the game odds because we will save that for whenever we talk about the game. But one of the things I ran across that I was surprised because I haven't been paying attention to it recently is just their overall rankings of teams. And so if you look at 538's overall rankings of teams of which the LA Galaxy were well towards the bottom of last year, they are no longer
the last few seasons.
Yeah, the last few seasons. They are not in that position right now. And as a matter of fact, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're the 6th best rated team in their SPI, number or however they want to calculate that. In their SPI, they're the 6th best team in Major League Soccer through the first 4 games. Eric, you screamed at me whenever I said this. You're like XG. It's because of XG.
When I was trying to figure out why the Galaxy in previous seasons was not higher up, and then I actually looked at like the algorithm that 538 uses to build their rankings, and it's very heavy on XG. And so what Greg Vanney just shared is we're getting a lot of chances where the XG is high on the Galaxy, so that makes sense on why they're popping up higher on the list. I have them 7th in MLS, top 3 in the West, but again, still higher than previous seasons where they've been projected. So it's kind of a good sign, especially last season. I mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. NYCFC last season kept climbing at the top of 538, and they were not at the top of the standings. And so I always kind of pause there and say, why do they have NYC so far up? And at the end of the season, they were the ones who were lifting MLS Cup. So
hot take. Yeah. And NYC still wasn't that good. Just that was my hot take. But they did win an MLS Cup.
I heard something that stuck with me this week, and again goes back to Portugal. But you've heard the adage, defense wins championships, but it's not necessarily true in soccer. Defense wins leagues, offense wins cups. And so I really like that one. So I think defense will get you, supporter shield higher in the standings. But if you want to win cups, you got to be able to bury it and put away those goals. And I think that's where this 538 ranking, favors the Galaxy and makes you feel good. And we'll see if going back, we're 50-50 right now. We're 2-2. Is this, the Galaxy has a high XG and eventually the flood of goals is going to happen? Or is this their identity? They're a team that, can sniff around the goal a lot, but just doesn't have the ability to put it away.
Yeah, they have them in an average simulated season right now. The LA Galaxy finishing with a +6 goal differential, 538 does, and 51 points. Let's see. That would be 3 more points than they had last year, right? Did they finish at 48 last year? Was that everybody was on 48? I think that's
yeah.
right,
I'm not going to go back and revisit that. Yeah, yeah, but still, sure.
Yes. I'm not going to do it.
Yes, and
if we pan over to the Eastern Conference to sort of see where everybody stands in terms of standings, Philadelphia leads the Eastern Conference with 10 points, 4 games played, 3 wins, and 1 draw for them. It then goes Columbus, Chicago, Orlando, New York, Atlanta, and DC. Those are the teams above the line. Charlotte now up to 8th. Charlotte, maybe that win against Charlotte is going to come out to be a very good win by the end of this, because Charlotte is not as bad as maybe everybody thought they were going to be.
I think we caught them at the right time. That home opener was scary just because that energy, you can't predict that, what that's going to be. But when you looked at their players and how they were playing in that game, they didn't have the FC Cincinnati stench. They looked like they've got something going, especially with their striker, their DP signing that they have up there. I think they've got something. Maybe they're not going to, be bottom of the table. Maybe they won't be, MLS Cup winners, but they'll make some noise. They'll upset some people this season.
Yeah, they're in 8th. FC Cincinnati, who's won some games, now in 9th. New York City in 10th. That's going to end up being a good win for the Galaxy, too. Just wait for that to play out. New York City is going to get out of their little CCL funk and climb back up those standings, so that is going to happen. New England, obviously, the Supporters' Shield winners last year, 11th. Then it goes Toronto, Montreal, and Miami. Montreal and Miami definitely dumpster fires so far early in the season. But it's nice to see FC Cincinnati not at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. So good job, FC Cincinnati. Maybe they won't win the wooden spoon for the 4th consecutive year. If we head over to the Western Conference, it is LAFC, Galaxy's next opponent after this Portland game. It'll be the first El Trafico coming up on April 9th. That's at Dignity Health Sports Park. So LAFC in first place. That could be a first place LAFC coming into Dignity Health Sports Park, a place they have never won before, which will be an interesting take on everything. RSL. Right now, I think they have 10 people on the injured list right now, if I remember, 10 or 11 people on the injured list. So I would expect that perhaps where they're at right now, second with 10 points tied with LAFC, through 5 games played, LAFC through 4 games played, I would expect RSL maybe treads water here for a little bit. We see that Minnesota is in 3rd place, Austin in 4th place. Austin might be one of those pretenders. I'm not sold on them yet. FC Dallas in 5th place, Colorado in 6th place, LA Galaxy in 6th place. Again, we've talked about this before. There are several good teams below the line right now, and you would expect that they will eventually be above the line, which means some of those people above the line are going to be below the line. Right now, it's the LA Galaxy who will be below the line if those other teams sort of jump up.
I love your math there. That made perfect sense. Perfect balance there. I think Salt Lake are pretenders. I think Austin are pretenders. I think Dallas might be for real this season for how they've, what they've done. That we say this every year. They look well coached. They look like they can play, and then they end up falling apart. But I think if they keep it up, I think with Arriola in there, I could see them, hanging around and being a nuisance in one of the playoff spots. I think Colorado is taking a little bit of a dip. Vancouver is there at the bottom. It looks, we thought at the end of last season, and I think this is your mom's Vancouver. This is the Vancouver that we know and love, who just kind of sits in that bottom of the barrel Western Conference. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think there's a lot of movement that these teams who are above the Galaxy right now, that there's going to be room to jump up. And of course, you have your SKCs, your Portlands, your Seattles, who are always in the mix, who are probably going to jump in there. And then Nashville, of course. We like Nashville. We're pro Nashville. Even though they're now on the West Coast, or the Western Conference, not the West Coast. So I think Nashville is, they're gonna figure it out. With these Western Conference teams as well.
Yeah, Nashville coming to Dignity Health Sports Park on April 16th, I believe. That is the first local TV game. I'm hearing things are close on local TV. I don't know who it is, but I'm hearing it's close. I expect an announcement soon, which you'd need because it's basically 2 weeks away.
I was going to say, if you've been listening to the podcast, you've done a great job. Shout out to you for kind of sleuthing and figuring out. I think, if you're an avid listener, you could probably guess where it's going to end up. I think all the signs, all the infrastructure and signs are pointing there. We don't know, anything. It's still a lot to be decided, but it just, I don't know how you're just going to spring something up out of thin air. Oh, the game's on YouTube and it's geo-blocked, or, it's on KCOP, or, it's going to be one, get your rabbit ears to watch the game. I don't picture that happening. I think there's infrastructure already in place with some previous homes of the LA Galaxy.
You would have to, otherwise the level of incompetence is so high. It's almost like you would be like, that's impossible. It just can't be. It's never going to happen. So anyway, LA Galaxy 14th right now, exactly in the top half of the league, just barely. Drop another point and you're in the bottom half. So just FYI, right there in that center. Mediocre, I guess is what you could say. I think they have the ability to be a good team this year. We'll see if that eventually pans out as it goes. One of the other things, obviously, we're paying attention to is this April. I asked Mark Delgado about this, and I said, is there a focus on this Portland game of sort of starting April off right? Because basically, you have 3 away games in April, you have 2 home games in April. You have some very good teams. Portland is obviously this weekend, LAFC next weekend, April 16th. I'm sorry, that was the Chicago game. Nashville is the 23rd. They're coming in, and then RSL. None of these teams are easy, and that includes Chicago, who is very, I think, middle of the table right now on the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they've turned it around a little bit. They seem like they have a team.
Yeah, it seems that way. So, so this is what April looks like. I said, is there a focus on this? He goes, yeah, of course there is, because he wants to get momentum going and the whole deal. Our entire full media call is up on our YouTube channel. You can go listen to the entire thing if you want. I encourage you to do that. So, excuse me. So that's what we have in April.
But one thing that I used to love that Bruce did, I didn't love it at the time. I always thought it was weird. But he'd look at a week, they'd play a Sunday game, a midweek game, and then a Saturday game. And he says, looking at these three games coming up, we want to walk away with, at least 7 points. And so, that's 2 wins and a draw. Or he put like, okay, this, over this 2 week stretch, we want to walk away with 10 points. And I always said, look at the games, look at the individual games and kind of figure out where you want to go. But I think setting that point marker, I like the way that he used to do that, because then you can say, it doesn't matter how we get there. This is our goal. We need to win this game. Okay, we lost this first game, so we need to make it up on this end. It kind of puts you in that mentality of what you need to do if you kind of had those goal settings. You don't say, well, we want to win every game. Of course, everyone wants to win every game. But when you set those realistic markers, I think that that could motivate the players and kind of let them know where they stand. And I think that was a good tactic. Looking back at the time when he said it, I was like, it's kind of a weird thing to do. But now that I look back at it, I was like, that's actually, I could see how that could motivate a team.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But then you can also be like Greg Berhalter, who says we want 9 points out of the first window, and you get 2 draws and nothing else, right? And you get 2 points, then you were supposed to get 9. So there's always problems that can arise from predicting that type of thing. If you look at May flips with 3 home games, 2 away games. So again, 5 games. Austin on the road, you have Minnesota on the road, and then home games to Dallas, Houston, and Austin. The Texas gauntlet.
Mother's Day in Austin, that's a hard sell. When you live in Texas, you're like, let's go to one of these away games. What'd you like to do on Mother's Day? So
so you're gonna be at that Austin game.
Casa de Hammer, yeah.
So anyway, basically the Texas 2-step with a little Minnesota added in there in May. 4 of the 5 games played against Texas teams. 3 of the 5 games played at home. So Austin gets the front end of the month and the back end of the month. So that's going to be an interesting one. All right. I get. You know what? I'm ready. Are you ready?
Time.
I think it's ready. Yeah. I think. Let's see.
It's been a while.
It has. It has been a while. But I know you're professional. I know you can handle it. So I don't want to go yet. I want to make sure that you're prepared for this. LA Galaxy coming up against Portland Timbers. This game kicks off at 1:55, so 1:30 TV start time. Fox Sports 1 and Fox Deportes are your television time. So 1:30 p.m. TV starts, 1:55 p.m. is when kickoff is. This is on Sunday, April 3rd, so it'll miss both of my weddings. I have a wedding on Friday and a wedding on Saturday. No wedding on Sunday. One of the people who asked me to go to their wedding said, well, what would have happened if I got married on Sunday? I said, well, then you would have been down one guest because I wouldn't have been there. I don't think they like that, but that's okay. They'll survive.
That's right. A 2-wedding weekend.
I know.
I've never done that. That's impressive.
Back-to-back nights too. I'm not excited about it. So anyway, now without much further ado, before we get too far, I want to make sure that we get ready. Here he is, Mr. Okay, no, we're not yet. One more thing I want to get to. Before we get to tease. This is an important game, Eric. You have to sort of put it into perspective of where this is that, with the tough month that April is going to be, it's extremely important, which is tough to say whenever you're talking about a team like the Portland Timbers who are good and who can do some stuff. So I think now everybody's ready. We'll let everybody go now. Are you ready? Good.
Sure. I didn't prep anything this time, so we'll see how it goes.
This is a freestyle?
This is freestyle. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Wow. I'll get the bleep button ready for whenever you say a swear word. All right, here we go. Eric and dramatic preview LA Galaxy versus our LA Galaxy at Portland Timbers.
This Sunday, your LA Galaxy is traveling away to Portland, where the Grim Reaper Derek Williams will go to knock some Portland Timbers players under the rug, since Portland is used to having things swept under the rug and looking the other direction. Speaking of looking the other direction, Kevin Cabral will also be looking to find the goal. He has not been able to find the back of the net, and we are looking for our Frenchie to find the back of the net. This Sunday, Chicharito, Kevin Cabral, Derek Williams, they're coming to chop down the Portland Timbers.
No, Douglas Costa. Oh, sorry, that was me. I just wanted
Throw
to
that in there.
I just wanted to throw it at the end, just to sort of get everything. Yeah.
You gotta get back into those. It didn't feel 100%, but hopefully we got a little taste of it.
You were right. You were like Zlatan.
Via Skype, yeah. Via Skype. We still have those sound issues. We're going to figure this out.
It's a Skype thing. I don't know how else to do it because it's a Skype thing. Skype, whenever you play music, it wants to be like, oh wait, there's music. Let me take down yours. I have to like constantly modulate the music and do so. Anyway, you got it. LA Galaxy Outsider, by the way, in the chat room says back-to-back wedding's going to need more cough drops for that. Yeah, absolutely. I am struggling. Yeah. No COVID here, by the way. No COVID. But by the way, if I'm going to get it, it's this weekend. 2 large weddings. This is it. I will be testing in and out of those weddings. So
it's where they get you. This is where they get you. Drop the Band-Aids, feel good. Let's go out. Let's hug people. That's what got us last summer. It was wedding season. Everyone was back, and then and then we all got back in our shells. So
Sunday. LA Galaxy versus Portland Timbers. The Galaxy will travel up on Saturday. Yeah, I saw it. LA Galaxy Outsider called you out.
I was gonna say that hurts. That hurts for my brother, Madam Serrano, the Outsider. In preseason form. But you know what? You're right. That was not season form. So I owe it to you. I will be better. Moving forward.
By the way, eSuper does point out LA Galaxy, Portland Timbers, only game on Sunday, which is funny because if you go look at the schedule, it's like everybody plays on Saturday and then Sunday. Probably the reason they did that was because Portland played last weekend. They were one of the teams that played.
Yeah, they played during the break.
It was a 1-1 draw with Orlando. They finished with 10 guys in this one. Van Rankin got 2 yellow cards. A stupid yellow card. Stupid yellow card. If anybody on the LA Galaxy got that type of yellow card, I could do 2 hours of complaining about it. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
But Van Rankin is one of the more consistent players for Portland, so we're very fortunate that he's not going to be in the game because I think that's a huge boost. And then I don't know if you had Bill Tuiloma, got called for New Zealand. He scored 2 goals in their playoff against Solomon Islands. I believe that was a blowout, but he was someone who's been consistent for Portland. But I don't know that's
a long flight
yesterday. That's a long flight, and that's so I don't know if he'll be on the field. So without Van Rankin, without Tuiloma, maybe this is a chance. You're going away at Portland on turf. It's tricky, but maybe they can make some magic happen.
Yeah, I mean, very well could. One of the things that I asked Greg Vanney about it, so I'll let him explain what he thinks Portland is going to do. He calls Portland, which is accurate, but he has a very good explanation. So let's hear from Greg Vanney on what he is expecting from this Portland team.
Yeah, I think Portland is Portland. They're never going to change too much. They usually, if they see the opportunity to try to initiate some pressure high, they'll do it. But if they don't, they're very comfortable getting into their mid block or their lower block, condensing spaces, making it really difficult for the opposition to create chances. Their center backs are fantastic at protecting the front of the goal. And then they can kill you in the transition, especially when all of their guys like Blanco and all those guys are out on the field, Jimmy Chara and the likes. They have a lot of quality and a lot of speed that can really hurt you in those transition moments. I mean, I think that's their greatest strength. They've obviously shown some capacity on some set pieces where they have some size as well. But they're certainly a team that is, I think, again, we have some teams in our league that are pretty comfortable not having the ball and looking for those moments to punish you if you turn over the ball in bad areas, if you don't protect yourself when you're in possession and you're trying to attack, things like that where we can hurt you. And they've been like that for a while, all the way to the finals last year. So they're a stingy and veteran group that they certainly know who they are and how they can get results. It hasn't always worked out for them this year, but typically they can find a rhythm, and when they start to execute on what they're good at, they become a very dangerous team.
All right, there's Greg Vanney. He's absolutely right. Big surprise. He actually pays attention to the opposition.
He scouted them appropriately.
Yeah, Portland, even in this game, and obviously they were playing with 10, they were very good in the low block. But it was funny because this is a team, Orlando, who doesn't want the ball, right? I mean, the Galaxy just played Orlando.
We saw that happen. Orlando was excellent on the counter, and we saw what happened to the Galaxy there. So I didn't watch the game, but I would imagine two teams waiting for the other team to counter. It's kind of perfect the way that it finished 1-1.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Portland needed to have more of the ball in this particular game, especially whenever they were down a man and they had to push sort of in that second half in order to create a goal. They did a better job of creating goals than the Galaxy did against Orlando. Not surprising, but quite honestly, the Galaxy probably had more chances than what Portland had. They are a very compact team. If we look at their average position, look at everybody just combined into the center of this field. This is what they do. They set up their two rows, their low blocks. And then they look to spring on the counter. They will be a counterattacking team against the Galaxy. The Galaxy like to have possession that feeds right into Portland. Sometimes I almost wish Vanney's like, you know what? We're changing it up. Just kick the ball back to him. We're going on the counter. We're going on the counter.
Do you trust that back line enough to let another team attack for the majority of the game and hope that we get the counter? So that's the other side of the sword there. That's where we'll see where they go. The one players that I worry about, Yimi Chara, I think the goal. Keep him on both his feet. He's leading Portland. He has 2 goals. They're both bicycles. So if they can keep him on both of his feet, we should be good. And then Blanco, Vanney mentioned him, so that already makes me feel a little bit better that he's on the radar. Sebastian Blanco is one of those players who hasn't been playing. I don't know if I've said this before, but yeah, he hasn't played. But like he's that type of player who can come in and make some noise. If he's about ready to come in, he's a player that scares me.
He should, and he should. And it sounds like he's going to be ready-ish to come back into this game. So maybe he doesn't start. He could start, but maybe he doesn't start and he comes into this game and still is an effect off of the bench. The Van Rankin replacement will be interesting to see because I think the Portland defense is not as good, I think, as maybe people have led it to believe. But they are compact. They are rather difficult to break down, and the Galaxy have trouble breaking down teams. So, I mean, you want to talk about a game. This is going to be a replay of something like the Seattle game, right? Which is Seattle didn't have possession. They didn't have many chances. They scored 3 goals. I can see Portland sort of doing the same thing, which is Portland gets 4 chances and they score 3 of them.
Or when Asprilla, does something crazy and just, scores a banger or something like that. I could see the Galaxy. Yeah, I'm with you on that, which is sad.
Yeah, it's crazy whenever you look at some of this stuff. One of the things that was also interesting is the LA Galaxy actually had a winning record against Portland, who went to the finals last year, in last season, right? Played them 3 times, beat them twice, lost once. Their one loss, obviously, was the one up in Portland where infamously, Derek Williams took out Andy Polo, who is no longer with the Portland Timbers because he was transferred to another team because he's not a nice person.
What a weird timeline of events for that to happen. When you read into that, I don't know if it's in poor taste to discuss that.
No, I think we talked about it. He was accused of domestic abuse, and they had an issue at his house that happened the day after Derek Williams took him out.
And the injury was allegedly part of the conversation, and that kind of sent him spinning. It's kind of wild.
It's super weird that just the Galaxy tie into it. So anyway, Galaxy lost 3-0 in Portland last May whenever they played them, then beat Portland 4-1 in July, and then beat them 2-1 in October. So Galaxy had some success against Portland last year, and again, that's a team that went to the finals last year.
Yeah, and so to that point, I think Portland, when they play against most MLS teams, you look and watch them counter, and they're always in the mix. But I think the Galaxy does match up well against them, and it shows last season. I think maybe this Portland team this year is a step backward from last year. So I could see the Galaxy, going up there with Van Rankin out, with possibly Tuoloma out. This is David Bingham's Portland Timbers, so maybe I don't think he's going to play, but the Galaxy can make something happen here. I'm hopeful that they can get some points out of this because they match up really well against Portland to that reason. Because Portland's going to wait back and let them possess, and with Vanney and XG and the possession that the Galaxy have had in creating chances, that should be there this weekend.
This is an XG underperformed game, right? Yeah. This is one where the Galaxy have like an XG of 2.2 and they score max 1 goal, and Portland has an XG of like 0.91 and they get 2. That's what this feels like. I don't feel great about this game just because things happen in Portland. It's not a great place. The Galaxy have had some bad moments there. And even if you go back to the 3-0 loss that ended up being against a 10-man LA Galaxy team, it was 0-0 at the time. The Galaxy were dominating that game. In fact, if Derek
that was
Williams,
like an XG, it was the same type of situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of these things sort of seem like they're doing. Now, the fun I don't know, fun part about this. The interesting part is that Derek Williams is very likely going to be in the starting lineup. I really feel that Vanney was waiting for the break to sort of work him back in, and that now that he has had that break, that he could be starting. So I don't know if Nick DePuy plays, because I think Sega Coulibaly has probably earned a spot more than Nick DePuy in the first 4 games. Yeah. So Derek Williams could be back in that against Portland. So all that fun stuff is there, and I think that'll be the first time he's been back there. And so maybe you don't play him because of that, but maybe you do play him for that. I don't know.
I think on the field, I don't think it's that big of an issue, but I think the fans definitely remember, and it'll be a thing, a part of the discussion. But I think for that reason, it's kind of like a redemption game for Williams. So I would start him, and I agree with you. I think Sega has been the better of the two pairings. I think he's earned that spot so far this season. Not to say that he's been flawless and hasn't had some shaky moments, but I think over the course of the 4 games, he's done better than I actually have expected him to. I've been impressed with Coulibaly when it's all said and done.
The interesting thing that we have here, whenever we look at the averages for these two teams so far, is that the Galaxy tend to hold more possession than Portland. We told you that, almost 60% average possession for the LA Galaxy. Portland at 46. Galaxy getting off more shots on goal, more shots on goal. Total passes, almost 75 on average, more passes than the Portland Timbers. So you go through some of these things and you can sort of look at, their comparisons. The Galaxy should control and dominate possession in this game. They should control and dominate the chances. They should control and dominate the shots. The biggest problem is, of course, that Chicharito, who leads, I think he's second in shots in the league right now, is not converting at the rate that you need him to convert in order to make some of these things. Chicharito's second in MLS in shots attempts, 15, and tied for third in shots on target, 8, but has scored with just 2 of those, leaving his conversion rate at 13.3.
Which I will say this, speaking of shots, I've pulled up the Galaxy stats so far. Obviously, Chicharito leads the team in shots. But, you would think, okay, well, who else is going to be up there? And Kevin Cabral is actually pretty far down the list. Nick DePuy has just as many shots as Kevin Cabral. And so that's not a good thing. And so that kind of goes back. Maybe he's in the right position, but he's not making the attempts. So, maybe he needs to make more attempts, have those shots on goal, make it happen. So that was kind of surprising to see him further down. Chicharito, 15 shots. Raveloson with 9, Douglas Costa with 8, Edwards with 7, Vasquez with 7, and then it works its way down. Efrain Alvarez with 6, and then Cabral and DePuy with 5 each. So again, the fact that they're on even footing, a little bit concerning, and that might explain it. He's not taking the shots. He's looking, to make the move or make the run or dish the pass instead of having that killer instinct. You look at Chicharito, he'll kick it into a guy's shin, he'll kick it into the stands, but he's trying. He's making the effort to take those shots, and so I think we need to see more of that from Cabral.
In defense of Kevin Cabral on this, Nick DePuy is a converted striker, so he is allowed to have the same number of shots, even if he's playing from defense.
All set piece headers, I'm sure.
All right, we go to 5:38. I have this information. Do you have your information? Are you ready to talk about this match? All right, tell the wonderful people, what the Portland LA Galaxy match has in store from 5:38.
So, per usual, when you're traveling away, it's always tough to get the edge there. So Portland is favored by 41%. So Portland winning is a 41% chance. According to 538, the LA Galaxy have a 33% chance of winning and then a 26% chance for a draw. So again, about a 10% difference there. When you look around the league and you see some of those other percentages, it's not that big of a difference. You look at someone like Sporting Kansas City, away at Vancouver, their percentage is kind of in that similar range. The Red Bulls at New England, that they're kind of there. So again, it's not like this is a huge upset if they were to go up there and steal 1 point or 3 points. It's definitely in range when you think about it. They're going to give the home team the advantage, but the Galaxy are kind of right there. There's definitely going to be some goals. They're not expecting a draw. I think I went to Bovada as well, where they have the over under somewhere around 3 goals, 3.5 goals. So again, they are expecting some goals to happen. So we'll see how that ends up. I think they can make it work. You have a guaranteed to be wrong prediction?
Galaxy lose this game 3-1. XG wildly in favor of the LA Galaxy. Shots will go over 18. They will have over 18 shots to Portland's 7 or 8. And they'll lose 3-1. You watch.
That would explain it. If they're down 3-1, then Portland's going to sit back, and then the Galaxy's just going to keep moving. I did have this game initially. I was thinking draw, but then I talked myself into it. XG, I believe in Greg Vanney. I don't think it's a symptom. I think they're going to fix it. This is the goal explosion. 3-2, the LA Galaxy win.
Woo, reminiscent of like David Beckham years of going into Portland, just smacking them across the face in their own building.
Yeah, I like it.
On the plastic grass.
The vibes feel right against Portland, given some news stories about them and things that they've done. Speaking of Derek Williams and Andy Polo, I think, the soccer gods owe us this one.
Yeah, I believe there would probably be more people rooting for the LA Galaxy in this game than is normal, just under the current circumstances. MLS,
which is very rare.
yeah. MLS did come out with a quote unquote independent report on the Andy Polo situation. They kind of fined Portland $25,000. It was like nothing. They did nothing. And then there is big questions about the independent report and the actual law firm that is supposed to be doing the independent report is the same law firm that's handled most of MLS's expansion team paperwork and stuff like that. To
catch those up who are listening who may not be aware that it's a possible domestic dispute and that Portland ownership and front office members were reaching out to Polo's wife asking her not to speak or basically trying to pay hush money to cover things up, and
which they denied, and the report says that they didn't find that. Now we've all heard the audio from it where it sounds fishy.
It sounds like they knew.
Yeah. And it feels, and obviously, listen, Portland has somehow escaped multiple.
If you go to the women's team and it's bad news.
Oh, total bad news. So I don't know how they keep dividing. And by the way, Portland Timber fans not ecstatic about all of this and certainly calling for some changes, certainly when if you look at social media. So anyway, that will be the atmosphere going up to Portland that this report just came out while it happened. So we'll see what the reception is for the Portland, for the Timbers and everything else. It's going to be a little more tense, I think, from just them in front of their own fans in their own building with their ownership there. I think it's going to be more tense than people sort of realize it. So
yeah, but to the credit of the fans, this is not the fans doing, and so Portland does have a rabid fan base, as the going back and forth for what it is, but give them credit for you see them calling it out, and so big up. I'll applaud the fans for doing that.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, I think that's about it. LA Galaxy will travel on Saturday up to take on Portland. So they travel on Saturday. Game is on Sunday. They will fly back to Los Angeles after the game on Saturday. So I think it's a 2:00 basically a kickoff. So let's see, 2 hours. That's 4:00. So they're at the airport by 6:15, 6:30 or so, and back home about 2.5 hours.
I'm not doing airport math.
So they're basically home by around 9:30. That's my guess. PM. So pretty easy week for them, and then obviously they'll get ready for LAFC coming up on April 9th. So that's sort of the week that sets it up. LA Galaxy against Portland on FS1 and Fox Deportes, another nationally televised game. So you can catch that one, and then hopefully we'll have a TV update for you here pretty soon about where the local broadcasts are coming, and we'll sort of keep our eye on that. All right. Anything else that you want to talk about? You good?
No, I think we're good. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, big shout out to Soccer Warehouse. I know you had the jersey, you've worn it before, but I'm sporting mine today. So big shout out to Soccer Warehouse for hooking us up.
People are asking if they can buy these. I think those people are crazy, but I am willing to entertain them about this. So I will work with Soccer Warehouse on this, and we'll see if we can get those up. All right. So let's see, Eric, why don't you tell people where they can find you? We'll get on out of here.
All right. As always, you can find me on Twitter at HammerEV. You can also find me on Instagram at Galaxy Profile. That's Galaxy PROFOUL. And that's where you can see a shirtless Hammer on Zlatan Day, if that's your thing.
If that's your thing, for sure. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. You have our full media call today. Is up there, YouTube, cornerofthegalaxy.com, all those fun places. Subscribe, tell everybody that you're listening, and keep growing this fan base. You guys are awesome. Galaxy Portland coming up on Sunday, 1:30 p.m., 1:55 kickoff. We'll catch you on Monday and get you ready for El Tráfico starting next week. All right, for Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening, you've been watching Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.